On today's episode of the Cryptoverse. Following on from yesterday, let's look at 5 hyperinflating economies that could adopt Bitcoin in 2017. Dash is the privacy-focused digital currency that offers transactions with instant confirmations. Its unique decentralized decision-making and self-funding system make it an ideal choice as a stable and secure digital cash. Click the link in the video description to learn more. Hi there guys, and welcome to the latest episode of the Cryptoverse, your regular dose of news and commentary on Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and blockchains. I am your host, Chris Coney. Today is the 29th of December 2016, and we are going to go through the market roundup and the news as always. So let's begin. First of all, we turn to coinmarketcap.com to look at the biggest winner and the biggest loser of the day. Biggest loser of the day again is Iconomy, down 11%, putting it at 24 cents. And the biggest winner of the day is Ethereum Classic. It's gained 23% of its value over the last 24 hours, putting an Ethereum Classic token at $1.29. Now, the other interesting thing here is that Ethereum Core has also gained 17% of its value in the last 24 hours. I wouldn't normally mention a third coin, but it seems to be both the Ethereums that have jumped. So it makes an Ethereum Core token worth $8.38. And looking at the rest of the coins, most of them are up, and some of them are up quite significantly. So I wondered if people were cashing out some Bitcoin and buying altcoins perhaps, and maybe that's why the Ethereums are up. That's purely a speculative comment on my part, so feel free to ignore it. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin price chart before we move on to the news. Over to the Bitcoin price chart now at bitcoinwisdom.com. If I seem like I'm whipping through the market roundup today, it's because I'm trying to keep the episode lengths under control, because the market roundup and the news together is starting to elongate the episodes again, and that's not a good thing. So looking at the last 2 days, we are still on the run. Yesterday, we topped a high of $980. I think it was only yesterday or the day before where I said that it's entirely plausible that we may see $1,000 Bitcoin before the end of the year. And on Bitstamp, Bitcoin is trading right this second at $972.23. Yesterday was another big buying day. We had another near enough a 5% gain yesterday, which is very significant given the size of the Bitcoin economy. So far today, we have retreated a little bit from that $980 price, down like 0.5% today. And I say today, I'm talking about the time as of UK time. So I have these 24-hour candles that cut off to see the opening and closing prices. So we've broken through all of those, what I thought would be psychologically significant numbers, you know, the 850s, the 900s, and so on. So the next one is the $1,000. That is the next target. So we've got the rest of today, the 29th, to go, and then we've got the 30th and the 31st. All that trading still to go to get us through the $1,000 mark. Not that it really matters that it happens in 2016. It's going to bust $1,000 anyway. It's just a question of when. It's just a nice symbolic gesture, I guess, to see it go through $1,000 before the end of the year. Now on to the news then. I've chosen an article from bitcoin.com again. This says 5 of these hyperinflating economies could adopt Bitcoin in 2017. So I like the idea of that. It's a nice looking forward to 2017 type article. And just on the cusp of the end of the year, I thought we should have a look at this. So it says 14 countries have inflation levels above 18% right now, 10 of which are rising at press time. Bitcoin prices and new user adoption have spiked several times in the past during economic turmoil, such as banking bailouts and hyperinflation. Now, I have subscribers from lots of different levels of sophistication, so let me just make sure everyone's on the same page here. If you were in a country with a inflation of, say, 18%, that would mean today you go into the dollar store, or in the UK it would be called the pound shop, and you'd spend $100 and you get 100 items in your basket. But then you go to that exact same store 1 year later, you spend the same $100, but you only get 82 items, right? Those items are still have the same sort of value to you in your life, yet the price seems to have changed, right? So I guess that's one of the struggles of running a dollar store in a country with hyperinflation. You can't keep the prices at $1 forever. Anyway, meanwhile, if you'd have purchased, say, $100 worth of Bitcoin on the 1st of January 2016, then today it would be exactly the same amount of Bitcoin, except it would purchase $200 worth of products and services. So you could say it either way. You could say Bitcoin's purchasing power has doubled, or you could say the dollar's purchasing power had halved. And that's when compared to each other anyway. So now let's look at these 5 countries. It sets the scene here by saying, according to Trading Economics, a service that compiles inflation rates, 14 countries have inflation levels above 18% right now, 10 of which are rising at press time. And of those 10 countries, 5 are wealthy enough and technologically proficient enough for their citizens to use Bitcoin as a safe haven asset should the current trends hold into 2017. Now that's the important bit. You may be in a country with a hyperinflating currency, but in order to adopt Bitcoin, the country's infrastructure needs to be at a certain level. It doesn't have to be that sophisticated. It just needs to be sophisticated enough for you to initiate Bitcoin transactions. And to be honest, if you absolutely had to, you could do that with an SMS message. But check this out. If you thought 18% inflation was bad, the first country we're going to look at here is Venezuela. So it says Venezuela's money problems are still advancing. The country was showing a staggering 181% inflation rate per month at the end of last year, according to the statistics from Trading Economics. The service estimates the country's inflation rate to stand at 410% in 12 months' time, and the International Monetary Fund predicts the inflation rate of 1,600% in 2017 for Venezuela. It only takes 50% inflation per month to be deemed hyperinflation, according to the World Bank. At 50% hyperinflation a month, you would get your monthly pay, but at the end of the month, prices would have gone up by 50%. That's crazy, right? Now that creates a huge incentive to spend that money sooner rather than later. And if everyone spends their money all at once, that creates a lot of demand. And then when demand is high, prices increase, which causes the inflation to accelerate even faster, and that cycle repeats itself every month, which is how come hyperinflation can happen very, very quickly, and it can get out of control very, very quickly. Because as soon as people get spooked, as soon as the population and the citizens get spooked and they think, oh my God, fear, my money is starting to devalue, they increase the rate at which they spend their money. Like immediately when they get paid, they'll go out and spend it all that day. And when more and more people do that, that's the increase in demand. It increases the prices, causes more panic, and then the whole system goes to hell. Now, normally that cycle continues until the currency collapses, meaning it becomes absolutely worthless because everyone just stops using it eventually. So that's Venezuela. There's one more thing to say about this. The article says, thankfully, the country already has a large and growing Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin community. The government also gives away free electricity. So mining Bitcoins there has been an excellent source of income for those who can get mining equipment. So I would say that's superb, So long as you can get hold of some mining equipment, which is easier said than done, you can become a mini money creator inside Venezuela. So rather than leaving it to the government, you can do like a citizen's money creation through Bitcoin. So if you were the miner, you would mine the Bitcoin, and you could go and spend that Bitcoin in the community, and then it would begin to flow from one person to another. I guess whoever you spent it with then has some Bitcoin to spend with someone else, and now part of the economy is running outside the fiat money system. And the best part about this idea of using the free electricity to mine Bitcoin is that money is being created from inside the country, right? Rather than being at the risk of, say, running an exchange, which is easy for the government to shut down. You don't need to get Bitcoin that was created by another miner and then import it and then exchange Venezuelan currency for it. Now, the mining idea isn't exactly bulletproof because miners are likely to get noticed based on how much power they are consuming. So they're going to seem like they're consuming an abnormally high amount of electricity. And there's a number of ways you could get around that, which is, decentralizing it, right? So that's Venezuela. Now we move on to Suriname. I've never heard of this place. The article says this is a tiny Dutch-speaking Republic of Suriname, a couple of countries to the east of Venezuela. They're also having their own hyperinflation problems right now, with a ruinous 77% inflation rate that is still rising. Like their suffering neighbors to the west, the Surinamese are technologically ready for Bitcoin today with an enormous 175% mobile phone penetration. That means there are nearly 2 mobile phones for every citizen. There's actually 1.75 mobile phones for every citizen in the country. So far, these are both South American countries. That's interesting, isn't it? So the next one is Angola. It says the South African Republic of Angola is among the many African nations currently experiencing uncomfortable levels of inflation, recorded at 44% monthly last year when they were last published. Angolans also enjoy great mobile phone coverage, and the quality of life there is far above most of their neighbours. Now that doesn't mean their quality of life is necessarily high if it's compared to relatively poor standards of living. But even 44% inflation would be tough, because it's 44% a month, not a year. So that was Angola, and the next one is Argentina. Another South American country that has been flirting with hyperinflation for years is Argentina, which has passed 40% inflation rates this year for the first time in decades. The current situation in Argentina is shaping up like the last time hyperinflation destroyed their currency in 1990. Now, following on from what I said yesterday, when we look at the history books and they describe these instances of hyperinflation that have happened all around the world, this time there is something very different. Now, I don't think this can be overstated, to be honest, but for the first time in human history, when a currency begins to hyperinflate, there is now a way out in terms of Bitcoin. And this opportunity has never existed before, because never before did we have this combination of mobile phone penetration and internet connectivity, which provided the very environment for something like Bitcoin to be born. So no one can really predict what will happen here, because we have no historical reference for this. The idea of a cryptocurrency and actually a real-world experiment like we have now has never existed before. And it doesn't really matter how many PhDs you have almost nothing to base the prediction on. Nothing solid anyway. When you know me, I'll base my predictions on principles, natural laws, and just my knowledge of human nature. So that was Argentina, and now we have Nigeria. The heavily populated Western African nation of Nigeria has a lot of good reasons to look at Bitcoin. Trading Economics predicts they will graze 20% inflation in the first quarter of 2017, although growth seems to be slowing for now. I personally think Nigeria is the biggest opportunity. The population is 188 million people, and they are in the same time zone as London for doing international business, and Nigeria has a lot of mobile phones. They also have a lot of unemployed young people who I imagine would love to get their hands on an internet-based job that pays in Bitcoin. And the next thing it says here about Nigeria is Nigerians have a 100% mobile adoption and saturation, with a huge population of 150 million subscribers, almost as large as the United States. So yeah, while 107% might seem like a lower mobile saturation than some of the other countries we just spoke about, it's in a country with a population of 188 million people, so overall, it's a lot more people and a lot more mobile phones. So thanks for joining me today, guys. If you liked this episode, hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. Please leave me a comment below with some feedback and get subscribed. And please support the Cryptoverse and boost cryptocurrency adoption by going to cryptoversity.com/podcast and becoming a patron. From as little as $10 a month, you can secure Cryptoversity's future, get unlimited access to all Cryptoversity courses, and access a private patrons-only chat group where you get direct access to me. That's all for today, guys. I will be back tomorrow with another episode of the Cryptoverse. So until then, it's me, Chris Coney, saying bye for now.